everyone. Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host of Sales and Cigars. Today's episode is a topic that I wanted to learn more about. That's why I had Ernesto on as a guest. I was a bit selfish because I wanted to learn about geofencing. Some of you may be fully aware of this, but it's really Ernesto's specialty. And so we talk a little bit about why this is important, how it works, how it's not creepy, how it actually can help just about any kind of business find net new customers and be able to track it as to when they walk through your door. So go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in for another exciting episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks. So welcome to the program, Ernesto. I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule to jump on and have a conversation.
Hi, Walter. Happy 2025.
Hey, Happy New Year. Recording this early in the year. Were your holidays relaxing or stressful or chaotic or?
Mine were pretty relaxing by virtue of contracting every virus that everybody had over the holidays.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, I sweat some, lost some weight by every mean possible. It was fantastic.
So you spent most of the time in bed. You can make that
Yeah.
whatever you want.
I'd like to call it deep meditation. I spent it deep meditation. So I'm ready. I'm ready for 2025.
Meditation is good. I've been trying to get back into that habit, and it is hard to quiet the brain. It really is.
Being out in nature helps. I live right off the ocean, so that helps.
Yeah, well, just the sound of the ocean can
Certainly.
make that. Even if you're not looking at it, the sound of that. I mean, I was in Barbados, and I remember we had the doors open, and the ocean was just crashing across these rocks, and like it was a beautiful way to wake up and go to sleep at night.
Tremendous, yeah.
So let me ask this question: is there a book that you reread or gift often to colleagues?
I like to, look through Sun Tzu, The Art of War, but then Ogilvy's Confessions of a Madman. That is a book that is never wrong. It's still many of the things they talk about Ogilvy talks about in his book are still true today. And one of the things that I particularly like is he speaks about long form ads. He once took out a full page ad for a product in the New York Times, and he tested it against other ads, and it did tremendously well. So there are just conventions that still work. The old ways, the old ways still work.
Well, because they were fundamentally sound, right? I mean, whether you're playing football, whether that's American football or soccer, the fundamentals still matter. In sales, right? This little device is our friend. It still works. It's still the fastest way to get a conversation going with somebody. It's just getting out of our own way. So you bring up Ogilvy, and he, long form. Dan Kennedy is sort of a long form guy, right? Some of those sales letters he wrote. Do you see a commonality there, or is there a difference? I mean,
I'm not familiar with Kennedy, but our conversation right now is proof positive of long form, because Ogilvy's argument was your customer's not stupid, and the more you enrich them, the more value you give them in a product, the more receptive they'll be, and they'll follow you. They'll follow your journey to the end. So we're on a podcast right now. It's long form, and your audience is willing to go along for the ride because they know that the longer this conversation goes on, that the more value will be in each minute of conversation. And that was Ogilvy's mindset. He knew that if he backed up his research with facts and he presented it to the public for a given product, he knew that they would eat it up.
And that's even more true today, right? Because 70s, 80s, 90s, each decade as we've come through, the buyer has more information available to them. They don't need a salesperson to gather the data. Like back in the 60s and 70s, you needed to go to the dealership to figure out the car because you had no way of knowing about the car until you got to the dealership. Um, that doesn't exist for most things these days. It just doesn't exist. That you have access as a buyer to uh, most of the data that you need. So that's interesting. That Ogilvy was what, 50s, 60s when he was.
Yeah, the golden age of advertising. Yeah, but I would say that the salesperson is needed and desired now more than ever for the experience of the transaction. So whether you're buying a home, you can find, there's software out there, there's products out there in Australia that are coming out now where, the real estate agent is non-existent, and I think that's a way to buy a home, but a home, for example, or a car, but without that salesperson, without that person who's done the deep experiential dive in the products that one is looking to buy, there's always going to be an element missing. So the salesperson is always needed. The salesperson can always be necessary if they just realize that the buyer's looking now for an experience.
So I 100% agree because transactional things like Amazon, we can go buy the same thing over and we don't need the salesperson to buy the coffee beans. But especially in a B2B complex environment, um, where the salespeople need to pivot is what we call a buyer's first pivot, where we're going to take them on a journey through a process to maybe acquire a product, maybe not, but we're going to go through that journey together and figure that out. So I think there's a fundamental difference there that we need to shift as a salesperson. We need to shift our mindset to be able to help um, educate to a degree, but also make the process uh, simpler, easier, but more personalized, where we're giving them, we're like, if they care about A and B and we're talking about D and E, it doesn't resonate. If they only care about A and B, that's what we need to focus on. We need to listen, to
Precisely,
really
yeah.
listen. So yeah, I mean, I'm a sales guy a long time, and I think we'll never be without a job, um, unless somebody's selling, that's truly transactional item. But even then, even the guy that does the milk route, you still got to check in from time to time to make sure that they're not interested in the chocolate milk as opposed to the whole milk.
Absolutely, yeah.
So talk a little bit about because you've got a kind of a unique background. So let's kind of talk a little bit about your professional journey from where you started in sales to where you are now.
Sure, I'll give you the 30-second rundown. I was a high school dropout, and I thought, I wasn't really sure what kind of future a high school, obviously, dropout could have. So I started selling cars right away. And I realized that I, the only way forward was to continuously educate myself. So went back to college, graduated college twice, Ithaca, studied biology, got into medical device sales while selling cars the entire time.
Wow.
And what I found was the fundamentals of if you can sell a car, and there's a proper process to selling a car, and it's a lot of listening, it's a lot of showing the benefits. Obviously, you want to make sure the customer's choosing the proper car for them, that they're not buying a payment, that they're actually buying a car that would benefit them, right?
Sure.
So obviously we never want to be those salespeople that are out there. If I could sell it to you for $499 a month, would you? We're not selling. The fundamentals of car sales should keep informing us today that we're not selling a price. What we're making sure we're doing is like a dating, like a good matchmaker, making sure that our customer and the product that they're seeking to acquire are a good match for the long run, or at least for the term that the customer would need the car. So I graduated college, became a surgical med rep, took those principles with me.
So you were selling medical devices and you were in the surgery in the room.
Yeah, I was in surgery. I did Dupuytren's contracture mostly, and
Hmm.
hand injuries. Dupuytren's contracture is of, you can call it the Viking disease. Yeah, we would do things like needle aponeurotomy, which is using a bevel of a needle to break up the band in your hand under local anesthesia. We would then manipulate it, and then I would dynamically splint it so that it would heal properly. And I did that for many years. And during that term, I wrote music professionally. I had songs on Disney radio. I had the number one song on Disney radio, which is "I'm Late for School Again,"
Wow.
in 2007. Also had a top 100 song, "Boys in Boots," which was a country song, made it to the top 100 and the top 15 of the Texas music charts. And that artist that year became Breakout Artist of the Year. And I learned that messaging, you got to get your message out concisely and quick. And sales taught me that. And, the craft of songwriting is fun, but it's no fun if no one buys your songs, if no one's performing your music. So that sales background always helped me along the way and informs me to this day with my new company, which is Cullari and Wardell, a geofencing ad agency.
So you said a couple of things. I want to before we go to the geofencing, but uh, high school dropout did really well. I went back and got like you went to Ithaca College or you went to Cornell.
I went to Ithaca and did a joint research project on Erwinia amylavra and Erwinia herbicola, which is the fire blight pathogen that kills apple orchards. So it was a
Okay.
joint project with Cornell.
But how do you go from like high school dropout to a biology degree from a great school? Like
They don't really teach you anything in high school. High school is, you know, it's really
perfunctory?
just it's just like everything else. It's self application. You have to apply yourself. And unfortunately, in some high schools, depending on which system you're in, they don't really reward independence. And when you drop out of high school, you have no options. So you have to go to a community college to start, and you have to work your way up, and you have to start with all the maths and all the sciences. But education is self-directed. So technically, how it happens is you have to go to a community college first. But I found it way more liberating. I learned way more in the years of community college than I did in all 11 years of
But but
public education.
that principle, you stated that it's you have to go out and get it, right? You said it more eloquently than that, but it's about what you want and what are willing to go do to get it. That applies in high school, right? Because they're not really teaching you to think there; they're just teaching you to remember stuff and to move through some obstacles that they put in your way. But I went to a pretty decent university, at least one that people respect, and I don't think I got an education until I decided I want to learn about this. And I went and figured out how to find a professor who would teach me what I wanted to learn. Um, and I think but that applies in high school, university, and life, right? If we want to learn something, or if we want to figure something out, or we want to get to a new place, then that's on us to take that journey, that leap, that do the work. I mean, that's everywhere, though, right?
Certainly, yeah. I learned the long way.
Uh, there's a quote from um, Oscar Wilde: "Experience is the name I give to my mistakes." And I always took like a corollary to that. Like I'm a really experienced guy. I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. So, so one of the things that intrigued me about having you on as a guest was your background, which we sort of covered here. Um, but the company, one of the things that you really focus on is geofencing, and I tried to understand it, and I'm just a dumb sales guy. Um, but if we want to help business owners, entrepreneurs, understand how this can impact their business. Can you help shape that story and tell that as to how we help them understand what this might fit for them?
Sure. Geofencing is the science and the art of location based and interest based advertising and communication. It's not just advertising, it works well for political campaigns and education campaigns and things like that. What it does at its most fundamental level is it uses our smart devices, and you can use satellites to draw a virtual fence, say, around your favorite coffee shop. Say we own a competing coffee business, you and I, Walter. We we could take a look at competing coffee shops. We can use satellites to draw virtual fences around them. And then we can send ads to their devices. Once we capture those devices and anonymize them, we could send them ads for our business. But the wonderful part is once they interact with that ad, we can send them a map to our business. And when they come to our business, the satellite pings us and alerts us that a new visit has taken place. We do approximately 5,000 satellite verified visits each month throughout the US, Canada, and Australia. So if you take that from the coffee world and you say you take it to the medical world and you're trying to reach people of a certain age that have certain injuries, and you're an orthopedic group, you can communicate maybe preventative steps to patients so that they can prolong the use of their knees without maybe needing a knee replacement, such as physical therapy, right? You can communicate to groups of people based on their location. And because of their location, you can draw certain inferences about them without spying on them, right? So we're not, once we capture a device, we actually anonymize it. We're not listening in on their device. We're not turning on their camera. So it's really one of the most elegant ways to effectively communicate to people, because once we capture that device, we can advertise on their their smart TV at home. We can advertise on their smartwatch. It could be their smartphone. It could be as they're listening to Spotify. It's really a more organic and comprehensive way and a holistic way to reach people and not waste advertising dollars.
Okay, so some of that is still scary to an older guy like me, right? I know you said you anonymize it. Is that the right pronunciation?
We anonymize it. So, yeah,
Anonymize.
so
So you're taking away all of the names and the creepiness out of it, right?
correct. An independent
Um,
company called the Clean Room does that for us.
but the intent is to help somebody um, learn about something, or I mean, maybe we're trying to sell something, but if somebody has a bad knee and they go to a physical therapy place, right? There's other ancillary services that might want to know that, right? How do we could figure out the people with the knee issues as opposed to the shoulder issues going to PT?
You can, yes, that can, there are multiple ways to go about trying to identify proper patients, but yeah, it works in orthopedics. We try to stick to, while we have worked in medicine, and we do on a daily basis, we work with, we have a big campaign out west for patients suffering from erectile dysfunction, for example. And we're reaching them on their smart TVs. And, we're not looking for them at their doctor's office. That's not how we're trying to communicate to them. That's not how we're trying to identify them. We're identifying them by zip code, by age, and by lifestyle. And then we're targeting their smart TVs. We're sending them ads to come in for a consultation, to come see a clinician who can point them in the right direction for the right and proper intervention for them. We like to do products. We like to do services. So, for example, we're one of the largest advertisers for laundromats in the country. So
Laundromats.
we have laundromats all throughout the US, all throughout Canada, all throughout Australia. And we are helping them, laundromat owners, identify the self-serve customer who's completely different than the wash, dry, fold customer. Wash, dry, fold is someone who drop off their laundry to be washed, you
Yeah.
know, and the pickup and delivery customer. So it is a perfect example of how you could look at a single business, identify three specific demographics, and then go about reaching them three unique ways using location based technologies. So, for example, the self serve customer for the laundromat is going to be on their phone a lot. So, we're going to send them ads in their applications. So, the weather app, any of the dating apps that they're in, the chatting apps, the social apps that they're in. And we do it based on, walking into a competing laundromat. Then there's the wash, dry, fold customers. So that could be a customer who is a mom and dad. They have kids who are out there doing judo, soccer, football, hockey, tons of
You
laundry.
care about time.
Yeah, they need to drop that off. So, now we're looking at sporting events and sports store, sporting goods stores, and we're sending parents who have gone to these locations ads to drop their laundry off at one of our locations. And then there's guys like you and I, pick up and delivery. We have our groceries delivered. We're running companies, we're running businesses, and you know, cleaning our house to us would be a luxury if we had the time. Doing laundry to us would be a luxury if we had the time, but we don't have that time. So we need our stuff picked up and then dropped off. So three different demographics in a single business. And geofencing is powerful enough to segregate them and then communicate to them properly in a way that on platforms, because we're actually, identifying different platforms. So for self-serve, it's in apps. Maybe for pickup and delivery, it's on a smart TV ad. We even have the capability now to target them as they're shopping on Whole Foods. So geofencing is that powerful. And then it's powerful enough to measure them if they do come in to drop off their laundry or if they do come in to do their laundry themselves.
So you can track that if the ad was successful,
Yes, that's the most
bringing them to the competing piece.
that's the most important part. A lot of advertising, Ogilvy would even tell you, is vanity, right? But
Hmm.
geofencing is not vanity. Geofencing is one of the rare forms of advertising where you can count, you don't need to count it on your hands, but you can count by satellite, by GPS verification, how many people actually came in to your door as a result of interacting with one of your ads, which is why my partner, Barbara Wardell, and I partnered on this. It's because through COVID, so many businesses were lost, and we wanted to offer businesses something that they can have some certainty with.
So I, I think one of the my brain is swimming. Right. So if this can help a coffee shop for a $3 cup of coffee or a $5 cup of coffee, and then the demographic that does self-serve laundry is wildly different than the drop-off people. I mean, I remember doing that when I was in my 20s in New York. I would drop off at the Chinese laundry. Literally, that is what it was called, and they would do 8 pounds of laundry and fold my and do my shirts better than anybody who's ever done them in my life. Um, and those kinds of businesses could benefit from geofencing and being able to grow their businesses. And so that means to me it's effective and affordable. Is that fair?
It's always effective, and we have made it affordable.
Because of the offering or just because of the ability to leverage the technology in a different way?
Because of our processes and the power of the technology. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been able
And the
to
number of
we're able to go in and replicate, because we've had experience nationwide in that industry. We're able to go in, we're able to assess a business. We use foot traffic studies to assess what's going on the ground at the moment over the last year, and then we were able to identify areas where they need to be drawing customers from. We go about targeting those specific areas.
I'm just like the retail businesses that are in malls. Those people are struggling, you know, because of the internet, for lack of a better term. Um, they can this help a larger retail or smaller retailers in malls to track the traffic? Are you able to get that pinpointed?
They can and we can. There's a resurgence in mall traffic, and you'd be surprised at who this person is. It's the young kids. It's like, the 18 to 20 something through their early 20s, and they're going to the mall because part of their social strategy, Snapchat and things like that, and TikTok, is to share their shopping experiences online. So these are prime candidates for geofencing. So we could target them in the mall once, and then we can continue to send them ads to keep on coming back. So geofencing would be very powerful for shopping malls, for malls and shopping malls of every kind.
Wow. And it's interesting, like what history repeats itself, right? Because when I was a kid in the uh, late '70s, early '80s, we went to the mall, right, for no purpose, to just go to the mall because we knew we were going to run into some other people and there would be activities.
Right.
Um, and it was relatively safe back then. Your parents knew that you were in confined space. Um, and so that's happening again, but for different purposes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting. Um, so I'm interested in, like, how do you go? I mean, how are you going to market? I mean, how do people figure out that this is something that could benefit them? Because I don't know how sophisticated the little coffee shop guy. I know Starbucks is pretty sophisticated, but the cool coffee shop on the corner that competes with Starbucks because of the vibe that they have. I mean, how do they find out about this?
That's actually why we're on the podcast today. So we at Cullari and Wardell, we spend considerable resources. Today I'm homesick, but we actually have built a TV studio, and we have an agent that books us on podcasts all across the world, and we talk to small business owners every single week, multiple times a week, explaining the accessibility and the power of geofencing, and how, even though it seems like this big technology, it's more accessible than they realize. So we spend a lot of our own resources educating the public on the power of geofencing. And we have tried to package it our best so that any small business owner can use it to their advantage.
I think it's intriguing. So the people that are in the audience, we've got a lot of business owners, entrepreneurial minded people. They're always looking for an edge. They're always looking for that thing that's going to help them take another step in growth. So, what's the best way for them to reach out to you to learn more, to engage?
To reach us at Cullari Media, Cullari media.com is the best way to reach out for a consultation. And that's the first step. And then we can begin a process of looking at your business holistically, whether you need to grow foot traffic or whether you need to grow online conversions. We can use the same technology to accomplish both means
So
or
we'll have
both
that
ends.
in the show notes. We'll have that in the show notes for people to click on to go to gather some information, and they basically can call you and you'll walk them through and help them understand, um, with a few questions as to whether this is a good fit,
Certainly,
and
yeah.
then figure out, because they have to have a perspective as to what they're actually trying to accomplish, to which what are they trying to grow, which is important. Um, okay, I really think this is something that people in the audience, should be thinking about and looking at. and definitely should be reaching out to you because I still say it's a little scary, right? Because I, I get nervous when I see ads on my phone from things that I was talking about a couple days before. But that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? Is
It's to me, it's the opposite. Um, I believe that a lot of the social platforms we use today betray our trust. I believe that they spy on our conversations. I believe that they have access to our camera. Geofencing is regulated. It is there's a lot of compliance and legal issues, and we use third-party clean rooms, which big social media companies are not using. They have
hmm.
access to your device and they have access to your personal information that we don't want, nor do we have. What we're doing is way more elegant. If you walk into a geofence, we can capture your device, we can anonymize it so we never know who you are, and then based on your location, we're drawing certain conclusions. And if you do this technique and this technology properly, and you do it smartly, you're going to pair willing customers to a better proposition.
Well, I think that's the key thing that you just said. You're helping people find the thing that they need without doing the creepy Facebook thing, right? Um, and you said it more eloquently, but you're literally helping somebody that's shown interest in a thing to find out more about the thing,
Or about a
right?
better
And
thing that they were looking at.
yeah,
The,
and it is opposite of what social media does, and it's a nice alternative for those people that are afraid to that waste money and piss away money on pay per click. This is a little bit more elegant, but also more targeted, and can you can really find what's working and what's not working. Right, it's very clear. So I really encourage folks to go click on the link in the show notes. This is and you'll help them figure out if this is a good fit. So last question, Ernesto, the cigars, past or present, any relationship?
my buddy Ross, who owned the coffee shop across the street from me, he was here for about 15 years. We would smoke cigars all the time. But since he moved down to Orlando, I haven't been smoking as much. But I'll tell you a really funny story about it. One of the last times he was here, he brought
Here's Asbury Park.
Asbury Park. Yeah, he brought out all the good cigars he had. So he gives me one of his best ones, and so I smoke it with him, and he's accustomed to smoking cigars every day. So I smoke about half the cigar, and I started to realize that I was high. So I had to take my shirt off, drink a big glass of water, and sort of rest out on the cold floor, so I could like detox the nicotine. But it was a beautiful cigar until I got high.
He gave you big monster Maduro type cigar with a lot of Ligero in it. That's
He gave me it was great smelling, great aroma, great tasting, but it was very powerful.
yeah. That there's usually three turns in that cigar, and it's that last part of the second one and the beginning part of the third one. I gotta if I don't have the discipline to put that down, I end up having to go lay down myself.
Nobody told me.
Um, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a good story. All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time, even though you were not 100%, not feeling well. So go have a cigar that helps clear the pipes
Yeah, the
out,
aroma certainly.
keeps the germs away.
Well, it's my pleasure to see you and talk to you, and I hope we help some companies out today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter.
Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to and watch this podcast. It's really important to me that we're adding value to our audience, the entrepreneurs, the founders, the people out there taking the risk. And I don't know that you guys realize how important it is to do what you're doing. Being an entrepreneur, I mean, you're creating opportunities for everybody in your organization. You're creating opportunities for your customers. You're creating opportunities in the community. And I think that every once in a while, when things, being an entrepreneur is tough, right? We know this, but I think it's every once in a while we need to take a moment in those tough moments and think about how cool it is that we get to do this and how much we actually are providing value to so many people. So you need to appreciate what you do, not just for your people, but for yourself. You're doing some great work, right? You might have a bad day from time to time, but you're doing great work. Keep after it, have some fun, and just enjoy this process. I thank you again for listening to this podcast. We've been doing this for a while. Our audience is growing. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode, or at least have an opportunity to track it. Tell your friends. We're trying to have fun. If you got ideas, please share. If you have an idea for a guest or if you have an idea for a topic, please share. Thanks again, guys. Bye.